So here's my Caitlyn Jenner story. Ready? So, I do not listen. I love Gavin Newsom. I think he gets a bad rap. I know you know Gavin as well. He's actually a super smart guy. But this was probably 7-8 years ago. It was, as I remember, it was about a year or two before Bruce Jenner transitioned and became Caitlyn Jenner. And I was at some party at the Sofitel or something near the Sofitel hotel in West Hollywood. And it was kind of an entertainment thing. I think maybe TCA, you know what that is. It's a television critics event. And there was Kris Jenner with Bruce Jenner. Now, it turns out that Kris Jenner and I had some exchanges before. You know why? Because she, with her Mercedes, literally backed into my daughter's car and crashed into her car in Beverly Hills. And so literally Kris Jenner, crashed into my daughter's car. Anyway, so she was very nice about it and we became somewhat friendly. And I walk up and I say, "Hey, Kris." And she goes, "Let me introduce you to Bruce." And we start, and I was doing, maybe it was even when I had my Air America radio show. And so we just started talking about politics. And honestly, oh my God, Roger and Ed and Casey, I was stunned. I was stunned. Bruce Jenner was Donald Trump before anyone was paying attention to Donald Trump. That is how radically crazy Fox News, hardcore, not thoughtful, knee-jerk, right-wing, crazy stuff was coming out of Bruce Jenner's mouth, which was shocking to me because I had followed Bruce Jenner when he was an Olympian and was a huge fan of him. I mean, what an incredible athlete, what a great athletic career. And as Bruce was talking at this little Hollywood party and saying these batshit crazy things, I would look at Kris and Kris would be rolling her eyes. And I'm saying, "I assume you don't agree." And she goes, "We don't agree on anything when it comes to politics." And Bruce confirmed that. And it kind of went back and forth. And then they started kind of arguing with each other about some of the things we were talking about. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's bizarre. And so now to wake up this morning and see that person who presumably still has many of those same right-wing Fox News, completely extremist conservative views, could potentially, because of her Instagram following and Kim Kardashian's, become the governor of California is truly horrifying. But I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, Ben, I know you have to get back to work. What is the one thing, the one issue that most riles you up? Because you like to get riled up. It's kind of your thing.
I do. I haven't been riled up in a while. You just got me there. The issue that riles me up most is exactly this. This has been it's giving these malintended, false purpose, complete disingenuous Republicans air as though they are equally valid opinions. That and the assault on truth. If we can solve those two little problems, we will have a much brighter and better future. And we need to be able to hold people to account. And I'm trying to do that right now. I actually invited Ted Cruz into my hotel room here in Atlanta, and he's here. Do you want to?
Please.
Ted, do you want to sit down for 1 second with Richard?
Please.
Come on over.
Hold on. You've got you have access to all these great people. I'm not surprised. You have Ted Cruz with you right there in your hotel room.
I mean, listen, I was on vacation in Cancun because my children dictate my travel schedule. And so I came to Atlanta because Ben said, come to Atlanta. I've got a 2-bedroom suite and you can hang out with me. And my children wanted to be there. They also advocate strongly for everything that I advocate for, which is a bunch of evil shit. Mitch, do you want to come and say hi really quickly to Richard Greene's here, the civics dean?
I can't wait to talk to him.
Absolutely. I just believe we should stymie all progress and be disingenuous. Trump's a threat to the nation and is guilty of the insurrection. This is why I support him in 2024. What alternate reality of morons are we living in, dude?
That, you never know what you're going to get with Ben Glebe. I have one proposal that we can work on with respect to your passion project. And I wrote it up, shared it with some members of Congress a few years ago. It was called the Fake News Accountability Act. So if you're Fox News, your OAN, your Newsmax, or whatever, and you say something that you know or should have known is factually inaccurate, you get fined, right? So, for example, when I was on Air America Radio, I had Noah Wiley on my radio show, and he said the word shit. We almost got fined $50,000 because somebody said the S word, right? This was a few years ago, but still, why can't we fine people for sowing, untruths and this culture of complete alternate reality? So it's like,
I love it.
$5,000 to the first one, the second one is 10,000, the next one's 20,000, right? Because all these, I won't say the word,
up, but I agree.
all these people care about is money, right? So let's hit them. Because you notice, for example, when they were talking about, these voting machines, they were corrupt and they switched the votes. As soon as Dominion filed a lawsuit, oh my goodness, now we're going to tell the truth. So we have to.
How about some accountability in this planet? How about Trump's lawyer who's now saying you were unreasonable to believe what I said? Instant disbarment. How about instant disbarment?
If the last 4 years was presented as a script to you and your Hollywood friends, people would have laughed it out of the room. It's like that. No, this is unreal. No one's going to buy this shit. Anyway, Ben Glebe, you're a very important man. And I really appreciate you taking a few minutes and also bringing in Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell. That was a real surprise. We'll have to have you on again.
It's the pleasure of all three of us to have been with you, Richard. Thanks so much, my friend.
And if I bring you on again, I want you to see if you can invite Donald Trump in. We haven't seen him for a while. I kind of miss him a little bit, not very much, but a little bit. It'd be lovely to see him again.
Happy to talk to you, Richard. Very excited to be here with you. Okay, real honor to be with you. Also, facts are bullshit, and I'm the king of the world. Good night, everybody.
Give a big hand to Ben Glebe.
Hi, everyone. We haven't spoken in a little while, and I wanted to cover a few things. I want to talk about Rachel Maddow, Dr. Seuss, and Abraham Lincoln and cancel culture, Joe Manchin, someone who you probably hate, but I want to give you a different perspective, Donald Trump and why the National Guard did not show up. It's a pretty simple explanation. Texas and what we're going to do about Texas, and HR 1, which is potentially really good news. So let's start off with Rachel Maddow. First of all, I have to tell you that I felt so honored to be at Air America Radio. I think it was in 2007 to 2010 was when I was on, and Rachel was on for much of that time. And for much of that time, I hosted a radio show from 8 to 10 every night, and she hosted a radio show from 6 to 8. And when I was in New York, which was fairly often, and that was where the studio was on 19th Avenue, 19th Street and 6th Avenue, I would be coming into the studio when Rachel would be coming out. And sometimes I'd be in the studio, Air America studio, before she went on. And I have to tell you, I will never get this image out of my head of walking into the studio one time, and she was always very busy. She was always very nice, very cordial, but she was kind of heads down, as you would imagine, totally focused on, creating this unbelievable broadcast. And in fact, she would pretty much script out every single word of a 2-hour broadcast, unlike most radio broadcasters. And one time I remember walking in, and she's literally, here's Rachel Maddow on the floor in the Air America studio with a pen and mapping out on a giant piece of poster paper, mapping out what her 2-hour radio show is going to be. I'd never seen anything quite like that. Super, super smart, super polite, super courteous. And as I have long said, and you guys probably agree with me, if we could just seriously get our Trump-loving friends and even our Republican friends who don't love Trump to watch just a couple weeks of Rachel Maddow, I think that they would love her, because she is such a serious, no bullshit, incredible journalist and human being. So I'm so glad that her show, the Rachel Maddow Show, as I posted yesterday, it is the #1 show on cable television. Forget Sean Hannity, forget Tucker Carlson, forget Laura Ingraham, forget Fox, period. It's Rachel Maddow for 2 months in a row. So yay, Rachel. And I think that's a really great sign, okay? Because of Rush Limbaugh back in the late 80s, what happened is he created a whole slew of what were called at the time ditto heads. And they were called ditto heads because they basically would just parrot every single thing that Rush Limbaugh would say. Rush Limbaugh would say it, ditto. Rush Limbaugh would say it, ditto. And that is why we are, to a large extent, in the situation we are, where people have tuned into and accepted and become blind to anything else, an alternate reality that was reinforced and reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. First, they would listen to Rush, and then they would hear it on their local radio stations from their local broadcasters who would be saying exactly the same thing. And truck drivers, you're driving down the road, or anybody who was commuting, you're getting that stuff coming in sideways, going almost directly to your subconscious, because your conscious is focused to a large extent on something else. You don't have the critical prefrontal cortex capacity when you're listening to radio in a passive way all day, every day. So that stuff just seeps in. So thank you, Rachel Maddow, for helping to balance things out. Hi, Debra.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
Are you ready for your quiz?
I see someone is even saying test anxiety right now. Yes, I feel the same way. Okay. Okay, everybody. So this is Richard. Richard knows everything about civics, which is about how the government works. Unfortunately, we don't really get taught civics very much these days, but you're never too old to learn. So, all right, Richard, be kind, okay? All right.
I will. By the way,
someone just said, let's do this.
By the way, you will never be too old for anything, because you are eternally youthful and
have this unbelievable spirit and everyone loves you. And I just want to say before we get started that Joe Biden won the election in significant part because of you, Debra Messing.
Oh gosh. Oh
No,
gosh.
your grasp of politics and how important voting is and how important Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's election was, and the way you communicated that to people. Listen, we actually only won by 43,000 votes. If you look at Georgia and Wisconsin and Arizona, the margin of victory in those three key swing states with 37 electoral votes was 43,000 people.
That's so mind-blowing to me. That's mind-blowing to me, because if you think about it, there's 365 million people in the country. And
Exactly.
the idea that our general election, that it could come down to 43,000 votes, that's unbelievable. So what did we just learn? We just learned that literally every vote matters. Every vote counts. So let's do this Georgia civics test. Let's see.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start off easy, but I know you're up for it.
Please.
Question number 1. What happens on January 5, 2021 in the state of Georgia? Option A.
Okay.
People are still hungover from their socially distanced New Year's celebrations.
Well, yeah.
Or B, there's a runoff election that will determine pretty much everything that happens in our country for the next 2 years.
I say A, but I think B is the most important and most relevant answer today. Yes, the runoff election, it ends on the 5th. It ends on the 5th because early voting starts December 14th. And mail-in voting is happening right now. So you can, and if you haven't, you can request your ballot, and it'll come to you and you fill it out, and then you just put it in a Dropbox and it's done. But yes,
you see what I mean?
Know.
You see what I mean? That's what you did. 43,000 votes. That's all you needed to do. It used to be that we looked at things as election day, but now it's like election season. And it starts really, really soon in Georgia. And of course, the reason we're doing this today, this is an extra question. Why are we doing this today?
Can I say?
Debra Messing, you.
We're doing this today because this is the last day that you can register to vote in Georgia. The deadline is midnight tonight. And this is especially to you 17-year-olds who will turn 18 by January 5th. If your birthday is between now and January 5th and you turn 18, you can vote. So you can register tonight by 12 o'clock. So if anyone out there who hasn't registered, do it tonight by midnight. You can go into any of my pages and you'll see all the links about how to go everywhere. But that is why we're doing it today, because this is our last day to register.
Got it. And you can do it online. You don't have to go anywhere. You can do it online from your couch, whatever. Question number 2, ready?
Yep.
Okay, you're 1 for 1. What difference do these 2 Senate races make to the country? Option A, not much. There are only 2 out of 100 senators, right? Or B, 2 more Democrats make it a 50-50 tie in the United States Senate, and Kamala Harris swoops in and breaks the tie, giving Democrats the majority and preventing Mitch McConnell, the Grim Reaper, we'll talk about that later, from blocking what Joe Biden and the majority of the American people want. That would be option B.
That is B. I know it is kind of amazing. You think about, oh, it's just these 2 senators. What effect could just 2 senators have? And you think about, oh my God, we went through all of this effort, you know, to make a change, to bring in decency and compassion, and we did it. We got Biden, and so this other election, you know, we already did the big thing, but that's not the case. You taught me that the president can't get anything done unless they can pass their stuff through the Senate. And with Mitch McConnell, he has blocked every single thing, and he did the same thing before. And so if we don't get these two senators, then Mitch McConnell will block everything that we voted for in Biden's policies. So yeah.
For example, there are a lot of people in Georgia that are desperately needing money to pay their rent, to put food on the table for their children, for anything. And the House of Representatives under Nancy Pelosi, all the way back in May, passed the HEROES Act to give people the money that they need, and all the people in the hospitals and the states and the local governments, and like more of those $1,200 payments we all got and needed. And Mitch McConnell has blocked that. We are now in December. That was passed in the House in May. So anyway, so the answer, of course, is B. And what people don't understand is all you need is 51, and then you have the majority, and then you can bring up all these bills, and you can do pretty much everything you want within reason, and we can get to that. Number three, why the heck is there an election in January of 2021, right?
Very good question.
Right. So the obvious answer is because the November 3 election was so much fun, Georgia decided to have yet another one, right? How cool would that be?
It was not fun. It was not fun. But okay, give me B, because I have a feeling it might be B.
Okay, because Georgia has a bizarre law, which is based on preventing colored people from winning elections. Actually, we can talk about that. That says that no one can become a United States senator from their state unless they get over 50% of the vote in the general election, and none of the four candidates did. So, for example, one of the things years ago, they go, well, what if there's this black guy and there's a whole bunch of candidates, right? And this black guy gets 18% of the vote because all the black people vote for this black candidate, and there's so many other candidates. We can't allow that to happen. We need to actually have a general election because that black person in a very white state or in a very racist state is never going to get elected by 50% plus one. That's the racist origin of this, but it's biting them in the butt on this one.
Well, so that's why, and it was very close too, wasn't it? It was very close, the runoff or the in November. So,
right. So, yes, very close. David Perdue got more votes than John Ossoff, but there was a libertarian candidate that got enough votes to keep Perdue under 50%. And then in the Kelly Loeffler special election, because they were filling the seat of a retiring Senator Johnny Isakson, there were so many candidates, nobody got 50%. But actually, Raphael got the most. But there are more registered Republicans in Georgia. So it's going to be super, super, super close. Let's go to number 4, which is the obvious question. I'm tired of politics. Why should I care? Enough already, right?
Yeah.
And so answer A is you shouldn't care. Politics is broken. Government is broken. All politicians suck, and your vote doesn't count. Right? A lot of people believe that.
I understand that response, but but no. What is B?
B is pretty much anything and everything you care about is on the ballot in the Georgia runoff elections.
Yes, it is absolutely B. It is absolutely B.
Okay, let's go. Number 5, I'm not registered, so phew, I can't vote, right? So answer A, true, you can just chill. You've done your thing or whatever you're going to do. B is false. We just talked about this. Anyone who lives in Georgia or has legal residency in Georgia, even if you're not living there right now, can still register even online by midnight tonight. And you can also vote by absentee ballot, even if you are not currently living in Georgia.
That's right. So it's B. So that also means it's B. So that also means that any college kids who are Georgian, but they're in other states because of school or for whatever, they can also vote. And they can, if they're not registered, they can register tonight. And if they are registered, they can just request their ballot and they can send it in.
Absolutely. And college kids could be the difference in what happens during the next 2 years of our collective life as Americans.
I think,
Okay.
you know what? I think the young people, I think that's what we've learned, is that all the young people are really the ones that are going to bring the change, the equity, the reform that we're all looking for, because these kids are passionate. They're amazing. They're amazing.
Well, and thank God for that, because this boomer and you, a millennial, you know, I mean, we haven't really done
honey,
what
I'm
we
not a
needed.
millennial.
I'm kidding.
Thank you. Thank you.
But let's say we older people have not really gotten it done,
Yeah.
right? There's so much more that we need. Okay, so number 6, here we're starting to get into some issues here.
Okay.
If we elected David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, would that really mean that Mitch McConnell could say no to President Biden if he not, isn't that a great sounding phrase, President Biden? President Biden, if he nominated Georgia's own Stacey Abrams to be America's Attorney General, or Atlanta's own Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, or whatever, or any Supreme Court or any lower court nominee. In other words, could Mitch McConnell, unless we elect John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, could he say no to any nomination in the cabinet or the Supreme Court or in other courts that Joe Biden could make for the next 2 years? So answer A, which is the obvious answer, is no. That would just be wrong.
No, the answer is yes.
What?
Yes. I know, it's so crazy. It's crazy, but yes, it's true. If we do not elect Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff, then Mitch McConnell will be able to block every single nomination that Joe Biden puts up. And that includes the Supreme Court or the lower court judges. And as you said, if he wanted to nominate Stacey Abrams for a position, McConnell, with the support of the Republicans, would say, sorry, not going to happen, which is so unfair, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the way that our, you know, how it works. So we've got to work within the system, and so that's why this election is so important.
You know, as the civics dean, you know, the most important thing I think people need to know about the game of government, the game of civics, is that it's just second grade arithmetic. Whoever has, think about this, a democracy is a mathematical concept, right? And so what that means is whoever has the numbers has the power to do whatever they want. In the United States Senate, with 100 people, you need 51 people. Then you have the majority. It's just a mathematical thing. And then with the majority, you can do anything you want. That's how powerful these two senators are. Okay, let's move forward. Number 7, and this is where it gets into really important issues that are critical to Georgia and the country.
Okay.
The John Lewis Voting Rights Act. God love John Lewis. I had the opportunity to meet him a few times, and I was in awe, right? What a contribution you made, Georgia. Martin Luther King, John Lewis, thank you. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the DREAM Act, the Equality Act, and a bill to support HBCUs across America are on the ballot on January 5 and before in Georgia. How is that possible? Answer A, it's not. We're voting for senators, not bills. You're crazy. Answer B, all of these bills, as well as the Climate Action Now Act, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act, Equal Pay for Women, a $15 minimum wage, net neutrality, and about 400 other bills that easily passed the House of Representatives, but have been blocked by Senator Perdue, Senator Loeffler, and their exalted leader, Mitch McConnell, are all on the ballot, because if Ossoff and Warnock get elected, all of these bills will be brought up finally. They'd be rescued. They'd be rescued from Mitch McConnell's graveyard, and they would be brought up, and many of them will instantly be passed and be signed by Joe Biden. That's a pretty big difference.
B. The answer is B. Yes.
See,
it's you know.
I knew you would do well on this.
Thank you. I feel so much better. But it's like the $15 minimum wage. The people in Georgia right now, what is it? Is it $5.15? I think is their minimum wage. That no one can live on that. And right now, it's already passed the House. $15 an hour. Just think about how that can change the lives all across our country. And the only way that will come up for a vote is if John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock are elected. Otherwise, they're dead and they disappear.
And climate action and equal pay for women and on and on and on. Okay, but here's the thing.
Someone just wrote, that's crazy. I know, it's crazy. All of these, it's true. You know, I mean, we have, oh my God. Okay, keep going.
So that's the answer to the whole quiz. It's frickin' crazy, but we can do something about it.
We can do it. Georgia can do it.
Georgia, we counting on you.
Do it.
Georgia's on our mind. Okay, so if you watched the debate last night, Senator Kelly Loeffler, who is the richest member of Congress, who was appointed by the governor to fill the seat of this former Senator Johnny Isakson, who was sick, and her husband's a billionaire, right? So she really has a deep feel for the common person, I think. She said that radical liberal Raphael Warnock, I know Raphael Warnock, he's not a radical liberal, right? Radical liberal, and Chuck Schumer would change the country because we've got a Democratic House and a Democratic president, and that we need to have divided government so there can be checks and balances. And a lot of people think that. So here's question number 8. Some say it's a really good thing to have divided government, where when you have one party controlling the White House and the other party controlling the Senate. In other words, you've got Democrats would have the House and the White House, but Republicans would create a balance by having the Senate. Okay, why is it not a good thing? Answer A, as Kelly Loeffler said in the debate, if Democrats win, they will change America and turn it into a radical socialist country. So essentially, it is a good thing. B, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing because Democrats will bring change to America if John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are elected, but exactly the kind of change that American people have been wanting for decades, right? Desperately wanting to reform policing, want voting rights, want to fight climate change, want dreamers to have a path to citizenship, want background checks for guns, want to end gerrymandering, want equality for LGBTQ individuals, a $15 minimum wage, as you said, net neutrality, and so many other things. I'm sorry?
Equal pay for women.
Equal pay. Rosa DeLauro, HR 7. She's been fighting for that for 20 years. And because we have had divided government, the Republicans have not allowed women to have equal pay for equal work. And as a man, I am horrified at that. It's just not right. So unless we elect
all of those changes that America, voted for by electing Joe Biden, but even well before Joe Biden, most of these things have been supported by the majority of our country, and they just haven't been able to get through the Senate. And now this is our one opportunity because we have Biden and we have the House. If we get the Senate, finally, we will be able to have all of that pass through, and Americans' lives will be made better in every realm. It'll be more equitable. People will have a living wage. There will be, it makes me emotional. it really makes me emotional to think about what is possible for us to accomplish with the election of Warnock and Ossoff. I mean, with, the climate catastrophe, we could really, really, really reverse a lot of the damage and protect our children.
And we can't really wait 2 or 4 more years.
No, we can't.
We can't. No, that was a beautiful summary. I have 2 quick more things. You hit it so perfectly, Debra. And the truth is, it's not just a majority of Americans who want the things I mentioned. It's actually a super majority.
What does that word mean?
Thank you. Thank you. A super majority is 60% or above.
Oh.
A regular majority, right? So 60 to 97% of the people want the bills and the issues to be addressed that I just mentioned, right? Vast majority, super majority. So let's go 2 more real quick.
Okay.
And the reason it's not happening is question number 9. Republican Mitch McConnell, the current majority leader of the United States Senate, describes himself as the Grim Reaper and continually brags about killing these and other bills he, from Kentucky, doesn't like. True or false?
It is true.
He brags about it.
He literally named himself the Grim Reaper because he said, I'm going to kill every single bill that comes my way. I mean, you know, and it makes me so crazy because our senators they're civil servants. They are supposed to work for us. They are supposed to help us, help make our lives easier, more access to health care, make there's so many ways in which the government is supposed to be taking care of its people. And then we have this Grim Reaper who loves being the Grim Reaper, and he laughs about how he literally kills every single thing that comes through. And that's why things don't get done. And so that's why all people are always saying, oh, you know, they don't care. They don't do any work, nothing, you know. But the fact of the matter is that so much work has been done in the House. 400 and what bills? Over 400 bills have been passed, and they're sitting on his desk and nothing is happening. So the truth of the matter is that the work is being done. There's just this obstacle. And also even the things that have come up for a vote, like the COVID relief bills. Senator Loeffler and Senator Perdue have voted against it every single time. They have voted against any relief package going to Georgia. And
why would you care if your husband's a billionaire or you're making millions of dollars insider trading, selling and buying stocks based upon your confidential information that you get as a United States Senator? That is literally what David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler did.
I know.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Debra, if someone gave you a script and said, we want you to star in this movie and here's the scenario and describe politics in America, people would laugh at it. It's like, we already have Veep. We already have comedies.
Right. They would say that's a melodrama. It's, you know, I mean, these are like monsters that you've written. But no, they're actually the current Georgia senators right now.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
One more question.
Okay.
Last question, and the most important question. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 10. Why should I vote? My vote doesn't count. How many times have you heard that, Debra?
Too many. The answer is a complicated answer because we have to acknowledge that for the history of our country, every vote has not been counted and has not been equal. But that is changing. Right now, there is a bill that is the John Lewis Voting Act bill that would ensure that that every single vote is counted, every single vote is equal, and that there's easily accessible voting. There's, you know, we all know that there's voter suppression and there is gerrymandering. But the thing is that you've got Stacey Abrams. Okay, let me say that again. You've got Stacey Abrams down there, and she is fierce, and she is, you know, she's got fair fight, and she is not going to let anybody steal your vote. So I promise you, you vote, we win. You vote, it will be counted. So please, 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 if you aren't registered, register tonight by midnight. Call your friends, your family, everybody, make sure they're all set. And then after that, make a plan. Are you going to vote by mail? If you are, then just request your ballot. You can go to any of my sites. I have all the links. And if you want to do it in person, you put it on your calendar now. December 14th. I'm going to be there, boom, the first day, because we all know all the holidays, and, you know, we have to buy presents for people, and, you know, New Year's, and time passes. Just get it done. Just get it done. You know, get it in the Dropbox, send it out, or else go in person early, get it done, and know that you have done your part and that your voice is being heard, because the only way that you will be heard is if you vote. Your vote is your voice.
So beautiful. Let me just say one more thing. I hear so many times that my vote doesn't count, and the system is broken, and politicians suck, and they're all getting money from big corporations. They're bought and paid for. Let me tell you, the government is not broken. Mitch McConnell and the Senate are broken, and that's a huge reason why the government doesn't work. So I'm a lawyer, and I was a fellow for the Constitutional Rights Foundation when I was in law school, and my job was to teach civics to junior and senior high school students. And it occurred to me that the founding fathers had literally created a revolution for America in perpetuity every single 2 years. And that revolution is called an election.
Elections.
And every 2 years, all 435 members of the House of Representatives are up for election. Every 4 years, the president. Every 6 years, you know, you can get rid of a senator and a third.
I've never thought about it that way until now. And I'm over 50, but now I finally see it. I finally see that really every time there's an election, it's essentially a protest. You know, we've gone out on the streets, and we have protested time and time again the things that just are unacceptable in our country. And that is exactly what voting is. You are protesting. So
absolutely. So let me give you the answers here. So why should I vote? My vote doesn't count. A, elections are often very close, and these runoff elections are certain to be exceedingly close. So that's A.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
B, so in other words, your vote actually counts more in a runoff because the overall vote totals are going to be lower. So your vote is even more important than it otherwise would be. Okay. Yeah. B, there was actually, I don't know if you know this, Deborah, there was actually an election in Virginia in 2017 that was literally tied. Literally tied. They had to flip a coin to determine who won.
Come on.
I'm serious. In Virginia, state election in Virginia, literally tied. So also, and then if you think about Al Franken, he literally won his election in Minnesota by about 300 votes.
Yeah.
The entire state of Minnesota, 300 votes. Do you know how many votes elected George W. Bush to be president of the United States in 2000 in the state of Florida?
I know the number. Was it
537.
37. Yeah, that's for president. That's for the president of the United States.
537 people, right?
Yeah.
So just the last ones here, there were 11,000. Oh, in Georgia, do you know the final totals in Georgia? How many how many votes allowed Joe Biden to win those 16 electoral votes?
It was like 11, 12,000, something like that.
11,779 votes out of 5 million people voting in the entire state of Georgia, 11,779. And David Perdue failed to get a majority by just 13,330 votes. Georgia, Jesus, this is going to be so close. And so
close.
the answer to all of that is
all
E,
of the,
all of the above.
Is there a D, all of the above?
It's actually an E, but
E.
yes, all of the above. So why don't we do this? Can I send you the quiz and you can post it in some way if people want to kind of show it to their friends in Georgia?
Yes.
Every vote. How horrible would we feel if we allowed Mitch McConnell to have 2 more years of destroying this country because 200 people didn't vote, or 2,000, or even 20,000, right?
No.
We can do this. Stacey Abrams has created this unbelievable momentum, and we can actually defy the odds.
And you know what? We can win because we already did win. Georgia won in November. Georgia flipped blue. You've already done it. So you know you can, and you can do it again. And the entire country is on your side. We love you. We are supporting you. We know it's a lot. This has been a big year.
Your dog even supports Georgia.
My dog is going crazy. He's saying, please, please, please vote. Please vote. Please vote. Please vote. Okay, Henry, enough. Okay. He's saying it's dinner time.
Debra,
thank you so
go
much.
take your dog. Thank you for everything you do. You are truly, honestly, and I've told you this personally, you're one of the most politically savvy, intelligent, thoughtful, visionary people that has a platform that I have ever met. And thank you so much for contributing that platform.
You're too kind. Okay, I'll see you soon, and send me the link so I can post it.
I will. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Debra.
Thank you, everybody.
First of all, I am predicting now that Jon Ossoff, 33-year-old senator-elect, yes! I am so happy about that. Jon Ossoff, we'll talk about Raphael in a minute, is going to be a superstar in the United States Senate. Kind of a Ted Kennedy type, Paul Wellstone type superstar. This kid, and he is exactly half my age, this kid, who my daughter loves, and everyone who has paid attention to him loves, is going to set Washington on fire. I just was so impressed with how he took down David Perdue in that debate. Did you see that? Unbelievable. And I have to say, as a Jew, I'm a little happy about that too. And I had mentioned to my mom when it came through that the AP and NBC had called the election for Ossoff. I said, Mom, a 33-year-old Jew has just replaced a 70-year-old criminal in the United States Senate. And she, without hesitation, goes and replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg in Washington, which I thought was so powerful from a 91-year-old Jewish woman who's looking at this 33-year-old Jewish man about to be in the same building that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was lying in state, right? Replacing one iconic Jew with a future Hall of Fame iconic Jewish voice in our government. Now, we may not need more Jews. Those of you who think we have too many Jews in government, but a Jew from Georgia is a big deal, right? Remember, the KKK didn't like Jews either down there. Still don't. And then Raphael Warnock, I had the tremendous pleasure of spending some time with him about 4 years ago. And I said, wow, this guy is really politically savvy. And we talked a lot about voter suppression and how to get young people out to vote. I had no idea that he'd be running for United States Senate. He didn't even know perhaps at that time, but he's a great guy. He's a great guy. And so to have, oh my God, I mean, it's just, there's so much. It's so rich. We are living in rich times, for goodness sakes. It's hard to even comprehend. So we just elected, Georgia, you did, just elected the first African-American Democrat to be elected in the state of Georgia ever, who is the preacher at Martin Luther King's church. And simultaneously, a Jewish millennial who worked for the other iconic African-American civil rights hero of our time, or for the last 100 years, John Lewis. I mean, it's so sweet. I hope you are taking a moment to drink this in the middle of the chaos. It's just beautiful.
A very interesting week of politics. And so I'm bringing back for the third time our friend Jessica Craven. We are not going to talk about the Big Bang. We're not going to talk about God. We're going to talk about politics. So Jessica, you've obviously been following things. What is the highlight of the week for you this past week?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. Hi, everybody. The highlight of the week for me, I mean, it's been a bad week in a lot of ways. We just lost a Capitol Police officer. I don't know if you've heard that yet, but we have had one fatality there. You know, we've had shootings. It's been that part of the week has been really challenging. We saw a terrible voter suppression law pass in Georgia, and we've got two in Texas and Arizona, equally terrible laws coming down the pike. I guess the silver lining that I have seen is that this week in my activism work, we have been strongly focused on contacting companies in Georgia who are based in that state, Delta, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, and chastising them for not doing more to stop these voter suppression bills before they were signed into law. And while it is too little too late, we have had both the CEOs of Delta and most recently Coca-Cola now coming out very strongly against these laws. And we just learned in the last half an hour that Major League Baseball is pulling the All-Star game. Is that what it's called? I'm not a sports person.
Yes. I predicted that. I'm glad to hear that.
So that's getting pulled out of Atlanta. And these things are important. And, you know, it is a shame that we have to involve our corporations in politics. But the truth of the matter is that right now, until we fix that, that is where our leverage lies. Republican legislators don't listen to their constituents anymore. They don't care what they want. That is not what they are doing in their jobs. But what they do care is what their donors want and the big corporations in their states want. So while we were not able to stop these Georgia laws, although there is some question, perhaps they'll get rescinded. I doubt it, but maybe. What I am hoping is that these kinds of big corporate moves may stop the next ones, may stop the ones in Texas, may stop the ones in Arizona, may stop other states who are thinking of trying to pass laws like that.
You know, Jessica, by the way, that's great news. I had not heard about the All-Star game. I predicted a couple days ago that there's no way in the world that Major League Baseball would bless the state of Georgia with this very prestigious thing, the All-Star game. The All-Star game is where the best players from both leagues come together, and it's the National League versus the American League. And it takes place once a year in the middle of the season, usually around July. And it's actually a big deal. It's a big deal, right? I am also hoping that there will be teams, that one team will start it and that other teams will follow, where they'll say, we're not going to go play the Braves.
Yeah.
If the Braves want to play in our home, in our stadium, fine, but we are not going to spend one frickin' penny for hotels or anything in the state of Georgia to play the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm so glad you brought it up. So you've got Coke, you've got Delta, you got Tim Cook and Apple came, and all these companies. But what is the mechanism by which you think this actually has a positive effect? I mean, it's a little tricky. The bill's already been passed and signed into law.
Yeah, well, right. And they should have spoken up before it was signed into law, because they're based in the state and they bring a lot of money to that state. They've got influence with the lawmakers there. The lawmakers only care about money. That is all they care about. So when a company like Coca-Cola or Delta starts making noise, they will listen. Notably, they really didn't make that much noise until after the bills had passed. So what?
Well, it came through, it was rushed through very quickly.
Very quickly. Oh, no question. But, you know, I think both of those CEOs are now saying, yeah, I should have said more. We didn't think they'd really do it. Whatever. I mean, it is too little and too late. But again, what I'm hoping it will do is slow the passage of these bills in the next states. And what, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with Judd Legume and the Popular Information newsletter. If you're not, you should be. But his work is all on the giant corporations who are funding the politicians who are passing these laws.
Right.
Which is not only Coke and Delta in Georgia, but in Texas, we've got AT&T who's given over $500,000 in donations to Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and a bunch of the legislators who are passing these voter suppression laws. So when we start going to AT&T and saying, why are you giving money to these people? Why are you or do you support voter suppression? Then they will start pulling their donations, and that is meaningful. Is it? I mean, ultimately, no, this is not the way any of us want to do business, but it is right now the only leverage we have when corrupt politicians do not care about their voters and what their voters say. Believe me, we are also driving calls to legislators, but they don't care.
Right. So
they care about Donald Trump and those factions. I don't know why. That is what they care about.